morning, everyone. Today I'm going to present my master thesis and going to talk about digital game-based learning and discuss the fact, is it for everyone? Everyone went to school, and I believe at least once in our life we found ourselves in a situation like this, or situation like this. And the problem is not that the teacher is doing a bad job or that the students are lazy. Of course, this also could be the reason, but that's completely another story. No, the teacher is doing a good job and the student is diligent, but I believe you heard about so-called attention span, that we are unable to concentrate ourselves on something for more than 20 minutes. And by kids and teenagers, the time is even shorter. Unless the activity is interesting and intrinsically motivating for us. So what could it be for teenagers? Very often we hear about computer games, that they have violence potential, that they sometimes lead to isolation or even addiction. But is it so? If teenagers spend so much time in front of computer and are intrinsically motivated to play a game, maybe it's reasonable for a teaching community to use it not as to investigate not just the issues of computer games, but also its potential. And in this case, digital game-based learning would be a perfect learning method. Let me introduce you to John. John is a student in a secondary school somewhere in Austria. He doesn't really like chemistry. He has some problems to concentrate himself and while teacher is speaking, and those formulas just make no sense for him. But what he really likes, he likes to play computer games. He comes home, takes his lunch, do his homework very fast, not always very good, and after goes straight to room and spends over there hours and hours in front of computer, conquering planets, destroying monsters, creating civilization. So what could the teacher do in this case? What about making John a chemist? In a game, John gets an opportunity to see the things from different perspectives, actually from perspective of his character. He has an opportunity to collect different experiences, unique experiences, which are not always possible if you are learning with any other method. And for John, it's just a game. He just plays, he has fun, he's entertained. But in real, it's a learning activity where he gets more insight into such an interesting topic for him as chemistry. Moreover, through adopting a role, and over here it comes to storytelling element, through adopting a role, John gets an opportunity, as I said already, to see the things from different perspectives. He can collect those unique experiences and engage in the learning process very actively. And this is one of the advantages of game. Over there, students learn without actually noticing that they learn something. They exercise, they train, they have fun, they solve different problems and look for best possible solution, and they do it automatically and with fun. And the positive effect of story in a game is that first of all, the inversion, where students adopt some role and see the things from different perspectives. And story works, so they memorize much better because story works as a so-called filter, which helps us to structure information and categorize it in our brain according to some specific categories. And in this case, memorizing of the information is much better. And of course, a student gets emotionally involved because in the game, he is the hero. He has mission to accomplish, he has reward afterwards, always different. And this emotional involvement plays a very big role if we are talking about storytelling in a game. So this was an example of how digital game-based learning with storytelling elements can be used to achieve a learning success. And this works only if implemented appropriately. Implemented appropriately, I mean, with adequate technical equipment, without this workload that the teachers and students have when they use this method. And for example, with criticism of the game, this also influenced a lot the implementation of the method in the school. But these are challenges that exist, and we are working on it. But today I'm going to talk about students, how students perceive this method in the school, how they see it. And over here we come to those two projects that I investigated during my master thesis. So according to the studies of Danube University claims, 20% of the students do not see any potential in learning games in the school. And there are different factors for it. First of all, of course, digital literacy. So even though there is a belief that all teenagers know how to use computer, it's not true. Some students don't know how to do that. And the reasons for it can be different. Maybe parents didn't let them use computer or to play computer games. Again, over here we come to criticism of computer games. Or maybe they have another hobbies and interests, and maybe they do not have time for computer games. The second reason why students do not accept digital game-based learning is they don't see game and learning as two activities that can be combined. So for them, it's two completely different things. And for learning, you cannot use a game because game is fun and learning is boring, if you can say so. There is still belief among some students that in order to learn successfully, one has to sit hours and hours with books, listening to instructions of teacher, and in the end have tests. So game in the end cannot be an efficient tool for them to learn. And of course, one of the very relevant factors right now is that a lot of students in the school do not have German as their first language. According to statistics, according to Presse, from February 2017, 25% of students who entered secondary school in Austria do not have German as their first language. And 25% is average in Austria, in the whole Austria. In Wien, for example, these are 50%, and it's quite a big number already. And of course, it influenced learning process in common and implementation of digital game-based learning in particular, because if students do not understand what teacher wants from him, of course, that has effect on the learning process in common. So these were the factors that influenced the acceptance of the method within students. Of course, there are also other factors, like, for example, like I said already, a big workload for students and teachers. It's very stressful and bad organized sometimes when this method is implemented in school. And these factors influence very much the motivation of the students to learn to use this method. So, what could the teacher do in this case? First of all, of course, give an alternative. We cannot forget that game is, first of all, a voluntary activity. A student always has to have alternative how he wants to learn. He wants to learn with game, or he wants to learn with book, or maybe he wants to learn to listen to boring lectures of teacher. That also can be one way of learning. So as I said, always give an alternative. And secondly, always reflect on activity. What was good, what was not good, what has to be improved. How did a student feel during the process, or what did he learn? Because students sometimes don't notice, like I already mentioned before, they don't see that they learned through the game something. Third, of course, instruct the students, because if you don't understand how to play or you don't understand the rules, it makes no sense if you start to learn through a game. And of course, give time. So without stress, without any pressure, it can be done at home, can be done in school. So the student has to have time. And in this case, if these requirements are fulfilled, maybe more students will be interested in the method and will be able to use it efficiently. Over here, actually, we answer the main question of this presentation, if game-based learning is for everyone. So obviously not. There must be some requirements fulfilled in order to make it more efficient method in the school. But again, coming back to the studies of the Danube University CREMS, these are just 20%. 80% of the students like the method. They find the activity enjoyable, they find it efficient, and they would like to have it more often in the school. So 80% is quite a big target group, and maybe it makes sense to investigate this topic more carefully. And of course, a lot depends on a teacher, what teacher wants to achieve in the class. If he has someone, for example, like John, who doesn't have any interest in the subject, and he just let him in the corner of the classroom sleeping, then yes, he doesn't need to implement anything new. But if he wants to improve the learning process and show John that chemistry is actually not so boring, maybe he has to try something new, and game-based learning would be a good method for it, especially in his case. And here comes the main question: to play or not to play? The teacher decides. Thank you.